Hey singers, I'm Sara and this is singingtv.com, and together you and I, we're making singing simple. So I wanted to answer a question today by a user on YouTube named Miss Mora4. You asked about the proper standing position for singing, and also the proper head and chest positions when singing high notes for women. So that's a very, very good question. And in order that our body is working the right way, in order that our diaphragm can descend, we can engage our abdominal muscles, that we're not raising our shoulders instead of just getting breath in the upper part of our chest, but in fact getting our lungs to expand fully, what we want to do is basically just stand with your feet about hip or shoulder length apart. You want to make sure that your knees are not locked. Not that they're bent, right? They don't need to be bent at the knees, but they're not like so locked in that you can't move very easily. You want to be able to move pretty easily, so you don't want your knees to be locked. And then one of the really important things about standing for singing is just really that you're comfortable. So that's why we want your legs to be about hip length apart. We want your knees not to be locked, and we want you to be comfortable. So if there are any kinks or things in your back or in your neck, you want to roll them out. So before I even do my warm-ups or exercises, I'll do that. I'll do some kind of stretches and things like that. And then something else, and this actually comes from Alexander technique, I like to sort of pretend that I'm actually being suspended by a string. So I will, as I'm doing my warm-ups right before I do, kind of stand here and pull the top of my head. And I want you to see I'm going to kind of relax and slouch a little bit like I normally do when I'm standing. And I want you to see if you can just notice the slightest difference that happens when I pull the top of my head, almost like I'm a puppet hanging by a string. Do you notice what happens? Hopefully you saw, not a huge difference, but my shoulders move back a tiny bit, not so far back that my chest is sticking out, right? Just far back enough so that I can get right into this aligned position of the spine and my neck and my head. So I just went like this, and it just had me move a teeny bit in the back. It had my shoulders move just a teeny bit back, basically so I'm standing here and I'm really comfortable and I'm able to move around if I need to. So Ms. Mora4, that's how you want to stand when you're singing, and that's not just when you're performing, right? That actually is when you're warming up, and pretty much any time you're doing these warm-ups or exercises. Now, the other question that you had was about the proper head and chest position when singing high notes. And it's an important thing to remember that your head should be perfectly balanced and pretty much straightforward whatever kind of notes you're singing. Obviously, if you're dancing and you're moving around, that's going to be different. But in general, for singing, you don't want to reach like this when you're singing a high note and reach like that when you're singing or trying to sing a low note. That's something that I think we've all done when we've been trying to reach a note, because it's a little bit like that thing where, you know, if I'm playing a video game or something and I'm trying to make the car go left, and I'm like, left, left, I kind of try and lean that way. Obviously, we know that that does nothing. And in fact, what all that'll do, if you put your neck up and your neck down, it'll kind of bring more tension to your larynx. And that's exactly what we're trying to get rid of. We're trying to rid ourselves of tension. We're trying to get ourselves comfortable just so that our body can work in the way that we want it to work, that's naturally comfortable to work, and that we've been trained for it to work properly in. So if you watch the videos on the singing breath, we want all those things to work properly. So basically, you should be standing like this. Your head should be about forward. Kind of pretend you're suspended from a string like that. Make sure that your knees are not locked in position, but are nice and comfortable. Your feet are apart. And then lastly, don't lean like this on one of your legs or the other, right? Don't lean against a wall. Don't sit when you're warming up. We want to be in this proper position. We want our balance of our weight to be evenly balanced on both feet. That's a really important thing, because you don't really realize, if I'm kind of putting all my weight on my left foot like this, that I'm also kind of letting my rib cage fall over, and then there's not the same kind of room for me to be able to be breathing and expanding my rib cage so that my lungs can expand down, my diaphragm can push down, and I can expand my lungs like when I breathe like this. So notice, feet about a foot apart, knees not locked, head like this, straight out, comfortable hands at my sides, weight evenly distributed on both feet, and now I can sing happily. Thanks so much. I'm Sara. This is Singing TV, and together you and I, we're making singing simple.